The official report, a 6,700-page data dump deprived of any useful or pertinent information because of its plethora of redactions. Well, that's how most people have described the official report as released by the Connecticut State Police. This report could have put to rest all of the skepticism from people who believe Sandy Hook was indeed a manufactured event. Instead, because of its many inconsistencies and contradictions found inside, even more questions have been raised. The excuse of a rush report cannot be used in this case because it took almost a whole year to release it. Due to their lack of urgency, Lieutenant Paul Vance and State's Attorney Stephen Sedensky came under heavy fire for their lengthy delay. When asked about when he planned on releasing the report to the public, Lieutenant Paul Vance merely replied, quote, "Nobody ever said that we had to have it done by a certain time," unquote. The egotism of Vance and the withholding of information seems to be a recurring theme. After all, he did in fact call himself the Master.
I think it's up to you to talk with your legislators and talk with
the legislators don't listen. They don't listen.
There's nothing I can do about it, man.
Yes, there is, because you can refuse to follow unlawful orders.
Okay.
If you can't do that, then it means you're an enemy of America.
Okay, ma'am, I'm not discussing this with you. I think our conversation's over. I suggest you contact your attorney, ma'am.
So really,
Okay.
all right, just remember, okay, you're the servant, we're the masters, okay? And if you come to my home...
Ma'am. I'm the master. You're
really?
absolutely right.
You're the
Thank
master?
You very much for your
no, you're the servant.
ma'am.
You're the servant. We're the masters.
Yeah. Thank
you come
very
to my
much for your
home...
conversation, ma'am. Okay.
And in mid-2014, he found himself in a similar bind when he did not release another crime report within a respectful manner of time.
Was there anything unusual about the state police handling of this because of who was involved?
Not at all. A thoroughly complete investigation. Arrest was made, was turned over to Superior Court for prosecution.
Nevertheless, this report, which can be downloaded at the government website cspsandyhookreport.ct.gov, is their final word, their official statement. And when we find inconsistencies and contradictions within this report, they should be obligated to defend it. Now, one humongous inconsistency can be found in the supplemental DNA reports from the forensic laboratory. The report numbers are shown here. This DNA report consisted of swabbing various areas of the murder weapon found at the Lanza home, which was a .22 caliber Savage rifle. Other items swabbed included a Christmas card, an envelope labeled "For the young students of Sandy Hook Elementary School," the adhesive side of the stamp, and the exterior and interior door handles of the car located at the crime scene. These items were then compared to the, quote, "known blood of Nancy Lanza," unquote, and a liver swab from a person allegedly said to be Adam Lanza. The results from this report are shocking, to say the least. Based on the conclusions given by the forensic science examiner and analyst Eric Carita, both Nancy and Adam Lanza are eliminated as contributors to the DNA found on the following items. In fact, the only items swabbed that could be connected to an Adam Lanza are mixtures. Now, a DNA mixture is a given sample that contains the DNA of more than one individual. If you were thinking that Nancy Lanza's DNA would be one of the individuals included in the mixture, you would be wrong. Nancy Lanza was eliminated as a contributor to all of the aforementioned items. Now, given these facts, many questions now are raised. How could there be more than one person's DNA found at the crime scene when, according to the official report, Adam Lanza acted alone? Was the DNA contaminated? If so, how could there be any conclusive results? Astonishingly still, on January 7, 2013, a hit was obtained with the convicted offender DNA profile from the New York State Police Investigation Center for the letter entitled "For the Young Children of Sandy Hook Elementary School." Who is this New York convict, and what are his connections to the school, and to Adam and Nancy Lanza for that matter? Was there ever a follow-up? This seems as if it should be treated with the utmost importance. So why was it swept under the rug, hidden in a 6,700-page pile, and never addressed publicly? How can we believe this official report when the forensic analyst himself concludes that both Nancy and Adam Lanza are eliminated as contributors to the DNA found at the crime scene. You have to ask yourself, what exactly is going on here? We attempted to find an answer when an email was sent to forensic science examiner Eric Carita. In a portion of the email, Mr. Carita was asked the following. Quote, would your conclusions indicate any of the following? 1. Adam Lanza was not the shooter. 2. Adam Lanza did not work alone. 3. There was definitely somebody else involved. Was there any follow-up regarding the convict from New York and his possible involvement? Who he is and if your findings resulted in him becoming a suspect? Do you know the contents of what was found inside the envelope and why it was crucial to the investigation? The report states that the DNA sample of Adam Lanza was taken from his liver. Is this common procedure? Were you ever brought into contact with the shooter's body, or was the liver swab the only source of Lanza's DNA? Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you." Unquote. We have yet to receive a response from Mr. Carita. However, there has been one update during the production of this video. A Freedom of Information request has been granted to News Channel 8 of Connecticut regarding the letter to the young children of Sandy Hook. Although the convict from New York is still unknown, this is what we are now being told.
David, how did you even learn this letter existed?
And it was mentioned in the Sandy Hook report released about a year ago, but that report really gave no information about it. Tonight, we have a photocopy of that letter, and it's addressed to the students of Sandy Hook, sent days after the shooting. A mysterious message claiming to be an apology from the father of the shooter. It was referenced in one of the thousands of pages in the Sandy Hook report, a report criticized for leaving out too much. It took a Freedom of Information request from the News 8 investigators and a complaint to the Freedom of Information Commission to get our hands on the contents of the envelope. A day before a scheduled hearing, the state police asked us to pull back our complaint. They would just give it to us. Police tested it for fingerprints and DNA. It did not come from Peter Lanza, as the envelope says. They tested it for Adam Lanza's DNA. Police say it didn't match him either. The only match they found was an unnamed felon in New York who they believe licked the envelope.
This still does not explain why Adam Lanza's DNA was not found on various items at the Lanza home, or why there were DNA mixtures found on those items despite there being only 2 alleged people in the house. Nancy Lanza was eliminated as a contributor to all aforementioned items. Moving on to the DNA found at Sandy Hook School, we arrive at amended supplemental DNA report 6. Here we find even more bizarre information. This report includes all of the weapons and magazines Lanza allegedly carried in the school. Strangely, it is permanent substitute teacher Lauren Rousseau's DNA, not Lanza's, which is found on the pistol grip of the rifle, shoulder stock of the rifle, feed area inside of the magazine, the Glock magazine, 9mm Sig Sauer magazine, PMag magazine, and 13 cartridges. Even stranger yet, of the 27 results found in this report, all but 3 are mixtures. The only unredacted DNA source that is distinctly listed alone is that of Principal Dawn Hochsprung. In result number 18, it clearly states the results are consistent with Dawn Hochsprung being the source of the DNA profile from item number 59S1. A 10mm auto cartridge. Now if we move to the supplemental DNA report 5, we see that this same item number, 59S1, was matched up to an Adam Lanza. Surprisingly though, Lanza's DNA was eliminated as a contributor to that specific item. Now if that wasn't odd enough for you, according to this same report, he was also eliminated as a contributor to the DNA found on the stock area and forearm of the shotgun, the shotgun shells, and various magazines and cartridges. The shotgun, if you recall, was found in the trunk of the Honda Civic. That very Honda Civic's interior and exterior door handles were also swabbed, but once again, Lanza's DNA was nowhere to be found. He was, however, said to be included as a source for a Sig Sauer magazine, and item number 58S1, a different 10mm cartridge. The suicide weapon he allegedly used contained a DNA mixture. Now, as you can see, by cross-referencing the various DNA reports, Nothing seems to add up. Adam Lanza's name, for example, appears in most DNA reports, but disappears from report 6. Why would he be redacted? And why do we find Lauren Rousseau's DNA on so many items? As one blogger states, it is understandable that body fluids of victims could come into contact with the weapons carried by the murderer. It stretches credibility when that same DNA is found on bullets inside of loaded magazines. Was the supplemental DNA report deliberately designed to confuse and beguile the public in an effort to cover up the truth? If not, what are we supposed to make of these anomalous findings? The forensic science examiner is silent, so we can't expect to find an answer there. We could ask the lead Sandy Hook investigator from the Western District Crime Squad, but he, William Podgorski, age 49, died suddenly of an undisclosed illness. Lieutenant Paul Vance has proven he's unreliable, as he provided the public with false information as to where the gunman was found. In a CBS interview, he quite matter-of-factly stated that the gunman was found in the hallway. However, we learn he was supposedly found in the classroom.
And where was the gunman found?
In the hallway.
Outside a classroom.
Correct.
Perhaps the press would help investigate these seemingly blatant inconsistencies. However, they have proven as well to be silent on such issues. The organization Ablechild stated it best. Prior to the release of the investigative report, the Courant was all over the shooting at Sandy Hook, but has failed to report on investigative details that scream for answers. It's one thing for lawmakers to ignore investigative material, but when a leading press organization blatantly fails to report on important investigative details, the people of the state truly are not being served. And finally, with all of the inconsistencies and lies surrounding the event, how can we be certain if DNA samples from the crime scene were really processed? Judging by the few unredacted photos we have of Classroom 8, the classroom in which 2 adults and 15 children were allegedly murdered, we see no evidence whatsoever of a massacre. The first 2 photos are images taken just inside the classroom. The last 3 were taken after the interior had been cleared. In the end, it is difficult to come to any accurate conclusion of what the anomalous supplemental DNA report suggests. And if public officials like Vance really do view themselves as masters, then we the people, in their eyes, are the servants and don't deserve answers. If nothing else, that is what has to change.